Hello, everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. A lot of high performers aren't struggling because they lack discipline. They're struggling because of what they are using to cope. Burnout, pressure, expectations, and for many, alcohol, because part of the system that keeps it all running while quietly breaking them down. Today's guest is Heather Simco. She helps high achieving women break free from burnout, alcohol, and self-sabotage and build lives that are actually aligned, not just successful on the outside. Heather, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yes, thank you for having me on. My
All right,
pleasure.
so yes, we're gonna dive a little bit into your 20s, right? So, take me back to your early years. How did alcohol first become part of your life and identity?
Yes, so I grew up in a household that was fairly a broken home. My parents were teenagers when they had me, divorced, and then grew up in a very Cinderella-like environment in my childhood. So my first indication looking back of addiction was I got very depressed my freshman year of high school and
Mm.
turned to food as my form of drug because I had a very controlling stepmother. So partying was not in my, I wasn't allowed to go out and do those kinds of things. So I found my way to be addicted to something, and super nerd. I wanted to get into college because that was my ticket out of that toxic environment. And my dad was an alcoholic growing up, and I didn't quite understand it until I was much older. And so fast forward, I end up in college. I'm on my own at 17 years old, 3,000 miles away from home, and no car, no driver's license, and start partying like all the other college kids. Except my behavior was a little bit more abnormal than others. And once college stopped and my behavior kept getting worse, I definitely had a much bigger indication that it was an issue. I met my husband when I was 19. We've been together ever since. I'm an OG at this point. We've been together almost 30 years now. And so
Wow.
he was a little older, and so partying, he was very well known in our area. And so I just had a lot of access in the industry that we worked in, which was at the time mixed martial arts, and just knowing a lot of people. And we taught a lot of cops and different individuals where we worked hard and played hard. So it was very much a part of my culture. And I ended up becoming very successful despite my drinking. It was almost like the more I drank, the more I succeeded, which seems counterintuitive, to say the least, until it wasn't anymore. And there was a point at which I put down the drink and focused on having a healthy baby. And that was 4 years. And then I picked back up again in my mid 20s and spiraled, and continued getting out of control. Do you want me to tell the rest of the story? Or do you, the,
Oh, it's fine. It's okay. You can
okay.
actually tell the rest.
Yeah. So that's my early, part of my story. But moving forward, we ended up building quite an empire, actually, very, very successfully, and
Mm.
selling part of the business, moving to Florida. And I ended up getting in a car accident, which took away my ability to be as high functioning and achieving as I was used to, and ended up spiraling even further into my alcoholism till I finally had to surrender in 2014. So at the end of this month will be 12 years sober for me. And so I've spent the last 12 years just rebuilding my life and lining everything mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually to make myself whole entirely without coping mechanisms. So that's where I'm at today, from where I came from.
Wow. Okay. So, I needed to help young adults understand, right? So, how easy is
Yes.
it to normalize unhealthy patterns because, everyone else is doing it?
Oh, yeah. And for those young adult listeners out there, I work a lot with the 20 something year olds. My daughter is actually 21, that magical drinking age. And so she keeps me in the loop considerably. And what I would say is, you're never too young to put down something that's harming you or recognizing addictive behavior, because the sooner, and it seems, again, really hard to do, it gets you so much further ahead. Because I found that habits that I formed in my 20s, the good habits that I formed in my 20s, have helped me succeed further in life. And so sometimes, although it's the hardest thing to do, breaking away from the pact, that's really what ends up separating you and becomes more of a superpower, especially when you're out in the workforce and trying to succeed. One less kind of, ball and chain that's holding you down. If you let go of that, it allows you to be more free and able to be more successful than your peers. So that's what I would
Mm.
encourage anyone with.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for that, Heather. Actually, I think that was very needed for people to know. Right. So talking about sobriety and identity shifts, right? You've been
Yeah.
sober for over a decade. Wow. So what was the hardest part of that transition early on?
Staying sober. It didn't just happen overnight. It took me about a year and a half once I started going to recovery meetings to actually have it stick and fully surrender and listen. So let me tell the 20-something-year-olds, listen to your elders. They've been there. I thought I could outsmart all the old timers who had more sobriety than I had years alive. And I was a kid. I was 32 at the time, and I was a baby. And they definitely made me feel so. But I was so grateful for their wisdom in all of that. Helping me get through those early days of just stitching one. They helped me focus on one day at a time, like just focus on today. Don't think about forever. And just, I had to even take a very simple part-time job and just learn how to do very, very simple things and rebuild my entire infrastructure as it were. So that was definitely the hardest part in the beginning, was just building a whole new routine and identity, realizing I was an alcoholic first before anything else. But I had an amazing support system and fellowship around me that helped me, get through the good and bad days, and which is why it's there.
All right. Wow. So I think this also highlights the importance of the community, right? Belonging in a
Mhm.
community actually helps, with sobriety. So a lot of people, they fear losing connection or confidence without alcohol. So what did you discover instead?
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry.
All right. So, a lot of people fear losing connection or confidence without
Mhm.
alcohol. So what did you discover instead?
Oh, yes. Oh, I had to do some serious deep digging, and I'm actually
Wow.
working on a book right now, and just really getting to who Heather is, like who am I underneath it all, without any of the titles, without the alcohol, without any of those other, all the labels and all the things of the world I was chasing, and really get back to the root of who I was as a whole person. And again, that community was essential. They loved me until I could learn to love myself. I was very insecure. I put a very good front on, a very good facade of putting out, making everyone think I was okay. But underneath it all, them helping me and loving me through all of my ups and downs and facing the things that I'd done, helping me work through my amends, and helped me find the new path to who I really was underneath it all, without all of this external stuff that I was leaning on. And honestly, my faith for me was a huge part of it. My church community and the rooms of fellowship were two sides of the same coin. So if I couldn't reach out to someone in person, I had my faith on the other side of the coin. So I was never alone wherever I was going to. And I found a sense of belonging in both those worlds, but especially my spirituality, knowing that I had a higher power that loved me regardless of anything that I had done, and who forgave me. So it helped me forgive myself and realize, if I'm that loved, then why shouldn't I love myself and do what I was brought here to do? So yeah, that's been a huge part of my transformation into real
Mm.
confidence, instead of the fake version that I'm so good at portraying.
Okay, thank you so much for that honesty, actually. And talking about like high performance without self-sabotage, right? So you
Mhm.
work with high achieving women. What patterns of burnout and self-sabotage do you often see amongst these women?
They're trying to do too much,
Hmm.
and the illusion of control ends up kind of cracking down after a while. Like when I got sober, we actually we built like a huge empire in business, and I didn't realize how I was planting seeds of self sabotage. Like, because I didn't feel like I belonged, it was almost like I was putting out that, I don't know, doubt or um, just a certain energy that didn't suit it being returned to me, like almost like I didn't feel like I deserved it. So it almost justified when people finally rejected it or it fell apart. So like that's what happens to me. Everything I touch falls apart. And so for high achieving women, what I have to help them look at is where can you delegate? You don't have to do everything yourselves. Taking care of yourself is essential. If you put yourself on the back burner, you're going to burn out. And a lot of women are either in overcompensation or in deprivation. It could be either starving themselves or taking away something to control it or putting too much on their plates, and they end up self-sabotaging themselves because they're trying to control so much that other people decide what needs to come off of your plate instead of you deciding what comes off of your plate, and helping guide women through, okay, what can be given to someone else that you don't need to control. And it could be as simple as letting someone else do the laundry. Let someone else, let Instacart exist. Let someone else deliver your groceries to your house. Like there's certain tasks that a high achieving woman doesn't have to oversee every little detail. And that way it allows them to focus their energy on self-care, which isn't selfish, doing the things that they're best at. And we call it delegate to elevate. And that allows them to be able to focus on themselves and clean themselves out mentally, emotionally, and physically when they're not trying to handle so many things, which eventually we're human. There's only so much we can take before it all comes crashing down.
All right. Delegate to elevate. I love that word
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
All right. So now we've seen, right? You've told us the patterns that are always seen amongst high achieving women, right? But I need to know why, these high performers tend to actually rely on coping mechanisms in the first place, right? So why do you think this happens in the first place?
Because for me, especially, work hard, play hard. Everything is an extreme, and it's almost like the constant dopamine hits, and you go so hard during the day, you're exhausted and or stressed, that if you don't have the right balance in your life, that stress runs so high, and it's very very lonely. Being a successful woman still generally in a man's world, that and you find something to cope with because you're so stressed, because you're so lonely, because you don't have an outlet to steam valve all of the emotions and the high level stress that we're so high achieving women are so used to performing at. You need an outlet for all of that emotional weight and baggage that you're carrying, and whether it's trying to manage however many kids you have, a marriage, whatever high level job you have, it there's a point at which where you can only handle so much, so it has to come out in a different angle, which is why alcohol, because it calms you down. Well, I've earned it, it's wine o'clock somewhere, I deserve this, and so they end up justifying the behavior because they're so stressed and they work so hard for it. Then it becomes unfortunately a coping mechanism, and most often a crutch actually to them achieving. It's almost like an illusion. They think that it's helping them wind down, but it actually has more negative effect on their body, which is holding them back as opposed to helping move them forward.
Wow. Okay, thank you so much for helping me understand actually. And when you understand patterns like this, it's easy to, overcome them, right? It's easy
Yeah.
not to fall into these I don't want to use the word temptations, right? But at least you understand the pattern and you can avoid it, right? So
Hmm.
talking about leadership, alignment, and real success, right? So how does sobriety impact leadership and decision making at a higher level?
Oh, it's so important. And only speaking from, like I said, personal experience and what I've seen in other individuals, you're making very large decisions in every angle. If you're in whether an entrepreneur or for a big corporation, anything that you're doing in your job or leading people, they see you're the front person. And if you're either hungover or you're not at your peak, you can't read that email carefully. And one story, part of my story that has come to light, even in my own reflection, we ended up losing our business because we had a shareholder. I read an email wrong, hung over, and it started a lawsuit that eventually that wrecked the entire 20-year empire. So talk about leadership. We were, I mean, an unstoppable force after 20 years. And not being clear-headed and reading something wrong because I was hungover sparked a flame that just couldn't be stopped until it all came crashing down. I mean, the whole thing burned down metaphorically, but so sobriety, and you don't have to be an addict to be addicted. When you're putting substances in your body that prohibit your ability to think cognitively, think clearly,
Mm,
it's gonna there's a point at which where you'll make a mistake you can't take back when you're not
mm,
clear-headed. Even as far as waiting to respond to an email, reading it right, having proper people around you to consult with before responding. Like we call it restraint of tongue and pen, where you wait to, respond to an email or say something so you don't you react, you respond rather than reacting. And not having any kind of substance that's going to hurt you. And it could be too much sugar. It can be, it can
mm,
be any form of something you put in your body, or even emotion, even anger. Just not being clear headed has, detrimental effects. And like I said, in my own personal life, irreversible, mistakes that, I've had to rebuild from as a result.
mm. All right. Wow. Okay. Thank you so much, Heather. Actually, this has been amazing. And I'm actually curious, right? So what does an aligned life actually look like beyond the buzzword?
Yes. So aligned life, and my program, I call it balance because it seems very elusive. But each letter stands for a different step that I would go through with my clients. And because especially any high achieving women or people who are in that kind of realm are in either overcompensation or deprivation, bring their bodies and lives back into a center space where you are looking at making decisions that are, is this a constructive decision or a deconstructive decision? How can I set myself up for success? What days, I'll meal prep, I make sure I set my alarm at a certain time. um, Having a good healthy routine has brought me into alignment, and having the right people in my life, cleaning out toxic individuals is huge. Toxic, anything mentally or physically toxic, whether it's food or, any kind of things in my environment. And people, especially, a lot of people aren't necessarily aligned with your values, and expressing and enforcing boundaries when you're living this new aligned life, that it's more about what you say no to than what you say yes to. And having and enforcing those boundaries allows you to live the life that you're setting yourself up for continued success. That it's not a one size fits all. Everyone's alignment looks a little bit different based on what kind of life they're leading, but they'll when you wake up and you don't go, I did it again. Or, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to deal with this because of that. You can go, wow, okay, I got today. Like you can wake up, everyone's got a bad day, but for the most part, your life you're gonna wake up ready to conquer your day because you've got all the steps in place to make sure that you're gonna succeed. And when a mistake happens, because we're human, it's easier to get back into your center self of what you've decided works best for you with those proper boundaries in your life.
All right, one. Okay, yes, thank you so much, Ida. And right, I have this one question. So finally, I need you to just talk to someone out there, right? Probably
Mhm.
young adults. So for someone in their 20s who feels stuck in circles of burnout or unhealthy coping, right? What is one truth they need to hear right now?
Oh, great question. I would say you don't have to follow the crowd. I would say
Mm,
listen to your gut. You know what's right for you. Everyone does. Listen to that little voice. Like when everything's quiet, that that gut feeling, to listen to that, align with that, and quality over quantity. In your 20s, I find everyone's, especially with social media, everything's abundance. How many likes, how many people, how many connections you have. But when it comes to real qualitative relationships and the things in your life, is to focus on true quality, true relationships, and what makes you feel whole and loved and that you're worth it. Because if no one has told you that you're worth it, you have a purpose, you have a place in this world, you are not here by accident or by mistake. When you live aligned with what is inside of you and you hold true to it, the sky is a limit. And having the right people around you who are going to encourage you genuinely really makes or breaks where you go from your 20s on. And from my experience, that having the proper mentors and people in my life who believed in me as much as I had inside of me led me to where I am today. So that's what I would say to any 20-year-old, working through this.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Herda. This has been amazing. And this is to my listeners, actually. If this conversation hits you, just know this. You don't need anything external, right, to become who you are meant to be. Clarity beats coping every time. Right. So you don't need anything external to be who you're meant to be. So yes, and this brings me to the final segment of my podcast. It's called the rapid fire segment. So starting now, right? Comfort or growth? Okay. Did you get the question?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
It's fine. All right. So would you prefer comfort or growth?
Comfort or group?
Growth. Like
What?
growth. Growth.
Oh,
Yeah. Like
comfort. Can you spell? I'm sorry. Like, connection is fuzzy.
okay. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Okay,
No
so
worries.
GROWTH.
Oh, growth,
Growth.
comfort or growth. I got you. Yes. Growth every single time. If you're comfortable, you're probably shortchanging yourself. Growth
Oh,
is always 100%, even if it's uncomfortable, it is always the way to go. There's always room for growth. And if you stay in that growth pattern, then you always remain teachable. You're always are able to level up. Because if you get comfortable, then you're stagnant. So I would choose growth any day of the week.
all right. Okay. Escape or awareness?
Awareness. I used to be escape. Oh my gosh.
Oh.
I catch myself, but awareness is so much more powerful for
Hmm.
sure.
All right. So confidence or clarity?
Mm, clarity. Because once I have
Hmm.
clarity, then the confidence comes as a result.
Okay. So what is one word that describes your old lifestyle?
Chaotic.
Oh my. Okay, so now I'm curious, right? Finally,
Yeah.
what is one word that describes your now life?
Oh, blessed is really
Wow.
it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank goodness, right?
Yeah, amen. Exactly.
Okay, Heather, this was amazing, actually. And
Thank you.
conversations like this are always so important, especially for young adults.
Absolutely.
In clarity, right? So yes, and finally, where can listeners get to learn more about you and connect with you?
Yes, so I can send you, I have a link tree, which there are many points to be able to work with me. I have an online community where I have amazing people in there. You can join, it's a minor monthly fee. Then I have a reset course to kind of help you get where you're going, and one-on-one concierge where we work one-on-one together to get you to that next level where we kind of dig in and do some really heavy lifting. So that can all be found. You can do a free consultation. All of the links are in my link tree. You can follow me on social media. I've got a podcast. So lots of different ways for us to connect. And even if it's just listening to the things that I have to share with you so you get a little further ahead, they're all there for you.
All right. So yes, thank you so much, Heather. This has been
Thank you.
amazing. And
Thank you for
I'm going
having
to put,
me.
yes, I'm gonna put the links in the show notes so it's easily accessible for listeners. And then to my listeners, thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, just as it did in me, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this, and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episodes. Thank you, Heather. Do have a
Yes.
wonderful day.
You too. Thank you so much.